We're going to be switching gears, discussing justice, so protection and dignity for children in street situations. In studio with us to have this discussion is Damaris Lubanga, Program Officer, Access to Justice, Pendekezo Letu. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
As well as we're waiting for Linda Tinyari, who is a social worker safeguarding lead remade. We shall be having the discussion with her as she comes. But just from a heated debate on where we find ourselves as a country in matters to do with fuel, and a lot of discussions, solutions being sought both internally, externally, continental, regional wise. And I think the leaders of the region, presidents, must sit and find a solution to it. If the continent produces fuel, produces oil, then perhaps we need to process it and find our own solutions to these
we really have to move the actions into, rather the talk into tangible actions, things that solve problems, and especially problems that relate, that have global ramifications, like oil. If we have deposits here, what must we do to make it meaningful? If we have no refineries, what must we do? Look at the investment in the infrastructure right now. We can't keep talking about the infrastructure fund, and the only thing we can talk about is roads. Why can we think about opening up, what they call thinking outside the box?
No, not even outside the box. Get rid of that box and just think.
and respond to challenges that the locals are facing.
Anyway, so let's get to, so every day we go to a different African country every week. So this week we have been in the Democratic Republic of Congo, another rich country in terms of resources, but you look at where they are today, war ravaging the country, and they're not able to move or take advantage of the resources that they do have. And again, another problem that needs perhaps local solutions, continental and regional. East Africa community, you talk about the African Union playing their role in giving Congo the stability that it does deserve. But the proverb that we do get, so you have to interpret this for us. He who loves a baboon should not mind its ugly face. He who loves a baboon should not mind its ugly face. How would you interpret it?
He who loves a baboon should not mind its ugly face. If you want something, then you shouldn't mind going through what it takes to get that thing. That's what I think, because you have to tolerate the face of the baboon at the end of the day. So that's what I think.
I love how different interpretations come with the different eyebuds view of how to look at it. So regardless of how it looks, that's where my heart is at, and I don't care how every other person thinks about it. That is beautiful. But let's get to the conversation this morning, right? So the street families, street children, homelessness in the country is a ticking time bomb. You look at Nairobi, just walk in the CBD around Archives area, and I talk about Archives because that is where you'll find a lot of street families and street children around that area. You go to Eldoret town. I was raised there around Sosiani River, and you find a lot of street families there as well. It's a problem across the country, and one would ask the question, as individuals in this country who are protected by the law, how bad is the situation as we speak today in 2026?
All right. So first of all, I'd like to begin by lauding Kenya. We have problems in this country. However, we need to start with perhaps something positive. Kenya has a very progressive Children's Act, 2022, that has been spoken about again and again. And this Children's Act actually is very instrumental in protecting the said rights of children in Kenya. Children are our future, whether they're on the street or they're not. So that being said, there's a difference between us having this wonderful act and us implementing the same. So for street situations and children who are, or rather street-connected youth, SCC-wise, or street-connected children, they have not been able to reap the benefits of this act. Children across Kenya have, because it has been around since 2022. But for some reason, it's not yet at the street level. And that's problematic. And because that act is yet to be realized at that very local place in the community, then the situation is not good. Because these children remain vulnerable and unprotected. They are still looked down upon. There's so much stigmatization. And again, the community outlooks and community opinions of these children make it hard. They make it very difficult for us to even implement this act at that level. Because you see, we are all Kenyans. We know what happens. You see a street child, for example, at the bus station, trying to come and talk to you. What's your first reaction? Before we look at what the community is doing and what the nation is doing, what are we doing as individuals? How do we treat these kids? And that collective treatment of every single individual in society makes these children even more vulnerable. So, to cut the long story short, the situation is bad. It's bad.
Interesting. And one would really wonder, even before we look at the situation, what are some of the root causes of these children really being on the streets? Because somebody would say, si uko na watu wa kwenu, there is a place you come from, you're somebody's child, regardless of the reason, the backstory, the hindsight. But what are some of the real causes as to why these children are on the streets from where you come from, Pendekezo, la watoto?
Yes, that's an incredible question. So, first of all, I am glad you've asked that question, because every street child has a story.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that finally, as a country, we are ready to listen to it. So what we have experienced personally in our work, because we do a lot of child protection work at Pendekezo Letu, is that these children, many of them are not on the streets because they want to be on the streets. Some of them are running away from harmful environments at home. The Children's Act 2022, and I'm sure psychologists all around the country would agree with me, that children have got developmental rights. And when they face immense trauma in their formative years, then they're destabilized completely. And some of them, in a way to try and survive, they run away from such situations. So you will find that street children are running away from homes that are abusive. You find that street children are running away from homes that they have lost hope in, because there's no provision of school fees. There is no love. There's no acceptance. Perhaps some of them are even orphans. And their relatives have refused to take them in. So they have no one in the world. These are children who are running away for their own survival, and they're on the streets to survive. So it's not that many of them want to be there, it's that they find themselves there in a way that best suits their survival.
You know, so when you talk about children that are running away from abusive homes, you find children who are running away for their own survival, all right? So you have to read the Children's Act on their rights and the responsibility of adults to ensure that those rights are protected and ensuring that these children enjoy that. And in the absence of that, then these adults, even when this child is running away, most of the time is because you find the child does not know where to run to, does not know where the children officers are. Then there is the stereotype that does exist there that when you go to a police officer or a police station to report these cases, many fear because of the image of a police station to many, you know. But then you find as a child has run away, but the adult, no action has been taken against them. So there is that break, or where the tape is cut. So how do we deal with that? How do we ensure that as this child is being rehabilitated and we want to take them back to their families, that justice as well has been delivered? Because we can't say we are rehabilitating this child to go back where?
Exactly. So for a long time, child justice has been caught. Truly, if you listen and think about the word justice, what comes to mind? The court system. But what we're trying to do, and actually this leads us into the discussion about the International Day of Street Children, and of course the mandate of Pendekezo Letu is we want a multi-sectoral approach to child justice. So what does that mean? The courts are still involved, but so is the community, the police, the children officers, the government, local and national, and also the home where the children stay, where we'll hear more from the government. But it's true, you cannot take a child from the streets and rehabilitate them to go back to the streets, right? But the issue is that gap is first of all bridged by the community. by sensitizing the community. At Pendekezoletu, we have something called positive parenting, where we go into the community and we teach parents about how they're supposed to take care of their children. We teach them about the children's rights in the Children's Act, and we teach them the importance of being there for their children in the way the children need. So it starts from there. And then a whole other bunch of justice actors come in and build from there. Because again, like I said, the children belong to the community, and it is the community, the first people to take care of these children is the community. Yes.
Yeah, so joining us is Linda Ntinyari, welcome, who is a social worker safeguarding lead Remade. So Ntinyari, you know, we've just painted a picture of how the situation is. I've been told the situation is bad, right? We're looking at if we want to rehabilitate these children, where are we rehabilitating them to go back to? So there is the approach of handling that with the society, training parents on how to deal with these children. But there are those children who say, based off what I went through, I tried running back to my uncle, they would not get me in, you know. I've tried the community, they did not want me. The safest place for me to go is the street, you know. So there are those who also just, even after rehabilitation, home sirudi, take me anywhere else but home. You know, how do we deal with that? And one would ask the question then, do we have safe spaces, safe houses for these children where they are guaranteed of a normal life? Because I know a while back, you will correct me if I'm wrong, there was the ban of orphanages, children's home in the country. You know, so with that in mind, then how do we deal with that when we know that line that was assisting was taken away?
Okay. First, I'd like to correct you. It wasn't exactly a ban. So the CCIs are told to transition, to places that will reunify and reintegrate these children back to their families. But now, that is a catch-22 situation again, like you said, because yes, we really do want to take them back home. But in some cases, there's still CCIs working, yes, because we're given a period of 10 years from 2022 until 2032, to transition. There are some, so in some cases we find when you go back to the court, you tell the judge, I've tried, I've worked with this family, I've worked with the foster, with the kin, the grandparents, the uncles, the aunties, but there's absolutely no way that this child can be reintegrated. So they give you a longer period to stay with this child until they're 18, until you can reintegrate them back into society.
Society, yeah.
Yes.
But you know, I was raised and where I grew up, I it was next to like a children's home, Muli children's home. And I see amazing things that they did because the professor used to go to the streets and talk to these children, bring them in. We used to play football, and they were amazing kids, you know. You know, there's some that we still talk to date. Some left the country in the States. They're doing amazing stuff, you know. And you would sit at that age and just talk to them, and one would tell you, you know, my parents died. And after my parents died, the community shunned me, you know, land, property, everything was taken away from us. And me and my siblings had to go to the streets because we had nowhere else to go to. We tried police, but police would look at you and say, "Wewe ni mtoto unafanya nini hapa? Go come with your guardian." Which guardian? You know, so are we having these discussions like in communities, wazewamta, you know, our legislation processes to ensure that there is actual implementation, that the law is followed, that these children get to enjoy their rights? Are we having deeper conversations? Because if the community is not involved, you know, how then are we ensuring that these children get their rights?
Yes, we are. I can say, especially from the point of Pendekezoletu, as a CSO, we are trying to have these conversations. What we realize that this is a mindset shift that needs to happen, because for many, many years, it has not been the situation. So we're trying to target different groups, especially to discuss concerns at their level. So if it's the community, yes, we're going through the maybe Nyumba Kumi representatives, the chiefs, right? We're doing a lot of sensitization with the parents themselves. Even in school, students, we talk to them when the children are we find them children at the streets as well, and we talk to them as well, carrying out mediation sessions with even other stakeholders like police officers who are present, or even the ODPP is involved in this, right? So it's again a multi-sectoral approach. That needs to happen. And also, apart from the way we are bringing them together to dialogue, we are also carrying out trainings. We're trying to train these justice actors. We're trying to train the community volunteers, the paralegals at the community level, the police officers themselves. Last month we had this month actually, a training with the children officers, so that we can all be on the same level when it comes to tackling these issues.
And Linda, I'm just wondering, because you mentioned that there is a 10-year grace period.
Yes.
But that there are still challenges that exist. And Damaris is telling us there are ongoing efforts to bring together all the stakeholders.
Yes.
And part of these, of course, could be the foster families where they are, because for integration to happen, there has to be a place that has been identified that is safe for this child. And in areas where they're not there, they are probably the children's homes or orphanages. But why do you think there are still challenges in meeting this 10-year target?
I will think one, because lack of knowledge, which is why these trainings, this multi-sectoral approach is very important, because you take them back to the auntie and anakwambia, this is too much luggage on me, I can't handle this. You go to maybe an uncle who's a bit well off, and they tell you, I already have mine, my budgets are laid out. So this positive parenting and working with the chiefs, the churches, because churches are really an important part of this. So working with the churches around and the community is really a big thing, because now when you go to the churches, you can find maybe a family who is willing to foster in a kid and get them training. So when you do that, at least now there are very many ways to reintegrate this child back into the community. It doesn't really have to be the blood family, but the community. It's where they will be appreciated and accepted, yes.
What is the level of government involvement beyond the laws, the policies, Children's Act, National Council for Children's Services, you have judiciary and even the children's courts, etc. You have big, friends of Kenya like UNICEF organizations. What is the level of government investment, like both national and counties? Because I imagine that even county governments, that's part of the role that they are supposed to be playing. We have things like women, they are called women reps, with their affirmative action funds. But what is really the level? Because Linda seemingly is saying that it's a challenge to get a space for a child, because either it's a church or it's a well-wisher. Is our government interested in reintegrating and supporting even families that are fostering these children? Either of you. Okay, Linda, you can go.
I would say that the duty bearers, yes, but, they tell us they lack the resources. So that is where we as stakeholders come in. That is where we, Pendekezo Letu, Remade, and other organizations that are part of a network that is really working and lobbying to streamline all this. That is where we come in.
Okay.
To assist.
And so when you talk about a network, what is a network? Who are you? How many are you? Do you have linkages with government? Because I come from governance, my perspective is governance, and so pushing government to be accountable. Because you cannot have a whole article that talks about children and their rights, but you're not concerned about your duty to ensure that they benefit from their rights. So do you have government as part of your network? Who are these members in your network? And probably, because I know government officials are listening, how can they reach out or reach the network and engage?
Well, so yes, we do have a network. It's called the Street Connected Children and Families Network, where we are a group of about 30 organizations.
Wow,
and the
that's big.
And Remade being part of the lead. And we have the Nairobi County sitting in our network. They help us a lot. Like, for instance, we have the International Day of Street Children coming up, and we are planning to commemorate the day tomorrow. But yes, we've tried reaching out to the Street Fund, to the Ministry of, to the Department of Children's Services. They are aware. They're aware there is a network, and we're trying to register the network so that we can better work and not duplicate services. Because, for example, a child will come to Pendekezo, they'll come to Remed, we'll give the same services and they'll still go back and go to another organization. So we're trying to put that as a stopgap, so there is no confusion. So if we're working in Nairobi, we know these are the children in Nairobi. This is how we shall handle them. This is how we shall reintegrate them back to their families. Yes.
Yeah, Damaris, before you take the break, I just want to look at, if you look at the United States of America as an institution and how they handle children's rights, it's something that is clear-cut. You know, this is, as a parent, you even try touching that child as a parent, the child is taken away from you. You know what I mean? There is no negotiation. Children officers will be there, and some of the people who report these are your neighbors. You know, it is your neighbors. I saw so and so touch this child. I had them shout to this child. I think that child is not safe. The community is involved in raising this child, but then again, that has to be followed with clear policies in terms of adoption, foster families, where a child is going to, will they get the very best, and the government as well just chipping in to ensure that this child gets to be the best version of themselves. Now, if we look at Kenya now, our situation, right, we will say alishindwa kwenda kwa baba yake, alishindwa kwenda kwa mama yake, nyanya yake pia alitoka. So the child is left hanging. How critical is it then for us to implement these policies, for us to say that we've gotten it right, that we've covered each and every single facet of ensuring that these rights, the children get to enjoy them?
It's very critical. And I understand what you're saying. We're talking about the situation in the US. It's very, again, for us, it's a lot of things. There are a lot of factors that feed into this. Number one, culture. Remember, in the African society, children are there to be seen,
not to be heard.
Exactly, not to be heard. And I guess many of us, especially when we talk about millennials and other generations, that's what it has been. Now is when we are seeing children as separate entities from ourselves. Now is when the children are being given a voice to speak. The Children's Act says that children have a right to participation and an opinion. That was non-existent when we were children ourselves. Beneficiaries of the Children's Act, 2001. That was literally not there. So, yes, the government, first of all, I'd like to laud them as well. Just recently, you can remember, we had the public participation for the Child Welfare Fund.
Yes.
And we even did a memorandum.
Yes.
As you know, different CSOs.
Yes.
The network was well represented, where we did memoranda, especially for street children, to include them even in this fund. The laws and policies are there. I've talked about the Children's Act and the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Article 53, that talks about the best interest of the minor. But we have a very big problem when it comes to culture and mindset shift. You see what I'm talking about? We can have all the policies that are glowing and wonderful, and in fact, let me shock you. You see, in the US, we have a lot of child protection in terms of at the family level, correct? But when you go to the justice side of the US, do you know we are better? How we are handling children in our specialized children's courts, we have a judiciary that has been sensitized to child-sensitive justice. They really don't have that there. If you listen to many of their cases, children are tried as adults. It is a mindset shift that they're also trying to implement there. But I guess they have gotten gains in terms of culturally, in the community. The buck stops with the community. As much as we have us as the CSOs, we have the government, we have other stakeholders, the issue is at the community level. What exactly are our priorities as a community?
Ladies, we've just talked about the importance of the society, being the community being the first point of assist and help, and we look at the societies that we come from, and like you've said, children are there to be seen, not to be heard, and that is the first place to start, where people realize that a child has to be heard. Nowadays you hear watoto wa siku hizi vichwa zao ni ngumu. What do they know? What do they know to say? No, I'm not gonna do that because I have a nephew. No, I'm not doing it. And it's a conversation with them, and you realize the power that I think it's also based off the way just God has created them. It's just who they are, plus the exposure that they have right now. So are we? Would we say that in our various communities and societies that people are starting to have this conversation, Damaris?
Yes, I think people are starting to have this conversation.
Are they accepting that children are there to be heard?
What I'd say is that the idea is better received in the urban areas, more than the rural areas. Naturally, there is more technological exposure here in the urban areas than the rural areas. Though even in the rural areas, there's still acceptance of that in a way. Remember, in the past, children are not even able to go to school like girls, the girl child. But with how times have changed, girl children are able to go to school even in the rural areas. There's a lot of uptake of the Children's Act across the country. Really, there's been a lot of sensitization. That goes without saying. So still we're having a challenge with less uptake at the rural areas, but in the urban areas there's a lot of
uptake.
So why do you think that's happening, especially given of course part of it could be the cost of living, the challenges that they could be going through there, but giving the wider view of who a child is, and especially when you say children are the future, like future in brackets, leaders, right? Or is the future of the community or of the society. Why would there be a disparity in terms of understanding of the rural areas vis-a-vis urban and cosmopolitan areas?
I would say that I think the first, more clear answer would be exposure.
Okay.
You see, in the urban areas, we have a lot of exposure in terms of technology, globalization. We are still Kenyans and we still hold fast to our roots. However, you have seen how we've become. Like, we are more connected to the global citizenry than those who are in the rural areas. Those in the rural areas still hold fast to cultural norms, which is not bad. However, there's still a lot of work to be done to help them also accept this new ideas of a child is allowed to speak, a child is not a commodity, a child deserves to be safeguarded, a child deserves to be protected. So it's just a matter of exposure, in my opinion, and how much it's been done.
Linda, there's this the International Day for Street Children, right?
Yes.
And as you talked to us briefly about that, there's a concern I have around sometimes you are on traffic and this child comes carrying some peanuts, selling, and so you engage because you'll be here for some 2, 3, 5 minutes.
Yes.
The traffic is not moving. And so she's like, nataka pesa ya kwenda shule, sijui mama amenituma hapa. Many things that happen within this conversation. But the question I have is, if I am interested in reporting, sharing that there is this child who feels like the guardian is not taking good care of her, and as a parent, I'm concerned about him or her being on the streets,
welfare,
selling this thing. Probably it's raining, or they're in this very torn white jacket, shirt or jacket. The welfare is just totally messed up. What should I do?
Well, number one, there's a child helpline. Child helpline Kenya, which is 116. That is direct.
1168.
116.
Okay.
116. Okay.
Yes. That will connect you directly to people who are able to advise you where you can, in whatever part of Kenya that you're calling from, they will direct you to the duty bearers who are around there. So, for example, you're calling from CBD, they'll direct you to the Starehe, maybe children's office, and from there you'll be assisted.
Okay.
Yes.
So the International Day?
So now the International Day, which is usually held on the April 12th of each year. But now, because it lies on a weekend, we are planning on doing it on tomorrow, on Friday, which is the 10th.
Yeah.
But also we are facing a bit of challenge again from duty bearers, because it's not ratified by the UN, so they refuse to participate. Well, they refuse or maybe can't participate because it's not ratified. Yes, but we take this day because we want not to celebrate them, but to show that they are here. That they're part of us, they're part of our communities. So they need to be heard also. Because the theme for this year is access to justice, which is protect, not punish. We want them to be heard by the judiciary, we want them to be heard by the police officers, by the inspectorate who just find them lying on the streets and beat them up.
Kanjo.
Yes, Kanjo. And they really need to be heard. So this is why we are especially celebrating this day, and we're planning for advocacy so that it can be ratified again. And also, as a network, like I said earlier, we are streamlining so that they know because I will say again, a lot of them they can be manipulative because they have been taught how to ask and ask and ask again. But we want to teach them how to fish, not just to continue asking. Giving you money today will not help you tomorrow. So giving you the tools to be able to fend for yourself, that is what we want, right?
You know, for me, it's I think for me it's pretty much more personal. I think because I happen to have grown up with the street children who are being rehabilitated at the time, you know, and having been in that proximity with them, you realize that these are actually kids who are even better than you. You know, they're better than you. The only thing they lack is that family surrounding or an opportunity to just be the best version of themselves. But we have questions here that are being asked by many, and that would be, what's the role of government? Why do we still have street children? Why do parents lose kids to predators? And what are the strict rules to safeguard? That is from Baba Three Girls. A loaded question, you know, and I would understand where he's coming from, because just I think it is last year or the other year when we saw every other day street children would be wheeling their own to Nairobi Funeral Home. Someone came and they were murdered at night, you know, and we see that is one situation where it happened. They buried their loved ones, you know, even them, they buried their loved ones and they moved on. They called on duty bearers, please come and help us because there's a problem that is ongoing. Over the weekend, I saw a story of street children in western part of the country, and the duty bearers, a police officer, decked in a full uniform, saying, tunakuja kuambia wazazi, hawa watoto tutakuja tutawashika, na tukiwashika tunakukujia wewe kama mza. But remember, this child does not want to go home because of reasons. So you hear how duty bearers are responding to this, and this child already is afraid of even reporting a problem because of how they are perceived, how they are looked at, you know. So then for me, it's a bigger conversation other than just policy. It is a conversation that each and every single person needs to realize that these children have rights, that when you see a problem, you need to report it, and that to those that you report to are trained and know what to do. Because, correct me, I feel like they don't. I feel like they don't. For instance, he's driving. There's a child on the street, right? You are driving. You see a child on the street. You are in this space every other day. What will you do? What are you supposed to do? What am I supposed to do?
Exactly. Well, I think the first thing is to be very honest about where we are as a society. We need to take accountability, right? So it's true we have a child helpline and we've been told about it. It's been around for a while.
Yes.
But we don't know about it.
But people don't even know about it. So what we do in such a situation usually, truthfully, is that we ignore. We ignore.
Wanakuwa wasumbufu.
Yes, you even roll up your window and you keep going. You see, and that's now what I was talking about, and this is why I am so big on mindset and shift and culture change, because without you understanding the importance of upholding this child's rights, you will not prioritize upholding the same. And I also feel like another issue that we have, as much as when we see these stories of children perhaps being buried in a mass grave, or we have too many knee-jerk reactions, you know, like we rush, and for that 1 week they're trending, and it's problematic, there's an issue, let's do something. Then after that 1 week, something else happens, something else trends, and we forget about these children completely. So as much as we have these wonderful policies that are already in place, we need to make them more than a knee-jerk reaction. We transform them into a long-lasting solution for these children. We find ways to customize them, to make them more homegrown for situations in Kenya, so that not only everybody has access to such policy, we are also implementing them in a way that is realistic to our situation.
And I'm just wondering, so what happens? So what do you do? I do the 116. Of course, I'll be referred to a government social worker somewhere or an institution. So what is your role? Like, I'm interacting with you right now. But when I make the phone call, your level of interaction is probably minimal. So what do you do, like pendekezo letu, when that child is already in that protected area? Is it a safe space or that home where they are? So what is your role as CSOs? Because we're already underscoring that government participation and investment is very limited. Yeah. So what are some of the programs that you run? And even if I make that phone call, how confident will I be that the child that I asked to be referred is actually safe and is enjoying a full life cycle?
Well, like for example, I'll give an example of Remade. We have safe housing, and we work with the Nairobi sub-counties, all of them. So in whichever area a street child is found, that because the duty bearers know, they have a list of the CCIs and the CSOs that they work with. So they will look at this child and think, oh, this is a teenager, so who do I call? They call Remade. Do you have space for this child? If I don't, they'll call another CSO. Okay. So that is where we come in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it. All right.
How would you deal with that? Let me paint this situation because I see there's a listener here who's given actually a proper representation of situation. So I have been hustling on the streets since I was 10. Not because I'm a street kid, but I'm going on the streets because we are poor. Parents can't afford, or I have a parent who is, say, with a disability. So I go to school, after school, I come out here, I hustle, whatever we get is what we manage to eat. So I'm out there because we must survive. I can't die of hunger, and that is the only way that I can that I can survive and see the next day. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that? Because if you are in the US, that would be called child labor. Even in Kenya, I think it's child labor. Even in Kenya, it's child labor.
Yes.
But then again, it is child labor, but in total honesty, where we talk about rules of natural justice, right? I gotta go work for me to survive. How do you deal with that?
I'll give a practical example of how we deal with it. I think she would also agree that you begin by shifting the lives of the parent. So we do have programs within the community that are for economic empowerment of these parents, right? We also have programs that assist these parents while they're getting themselves on their feet. After us giving us maybe the startup tools, us giving them the startup tools to do some small business, we are able to maybe support these children. Every CSO has their own spotlighted area of work, so they're able to support these children maybe by taking them to school for the meantime, all the while trying to lower dependency on the organization so that we can have this community standing on their feet. When this child is taken to school through these programs, they get scholarships again with the county government and all that, the national government. And when they are done with their basic education, then we also have programs that economically empower them. You see, we also have relocation programs where if a child has grown up in a place perhaps with high crime or violations, we are able to relocate them to another place and help them set up new lives in new areas that are better for this child's development. Yes.
I think that's the way. That's the way to go. Because for many would say, I gotta survive, but you still responsibility remains with the parent because they are the adult in the room. They should be able to make the right choices for their for their children and for themselves. So I want to look at when you talk about CSOs, resources limited, even for government is limited, right? Yes. But I want to look at government's participation on that, in terms of empowering the parent, because we know, like during a campaign period, we will say all these things to Daleta Kazi and all that. But from where you see it, Linda, are we seeing the government spending on such initiatives so that the child is removed from the streets, so that they're able to go to school while empowering the parent? Are we seeing more of that?
We're seeing more of them trying to work with us as CSOs. Because, well, Child Welfare Fund is not out yet.
Okay.
Right? There's a street fund which deals with different organizations. I don't know how many because they get funding, but they work with some organizations and they try to. But I would say a lot of the burden is on us as CSOs because we work with the families directly on the ground. The government does not. We are the ones who go to the family. We're the ones who go to the communities, and we're the ones who go to the bases and find these kids asking for help. So the onus lies on us as CSOs. We are hoping.
What's your budget when assuming Nairobi? Let's just take Nairobi, right? Dealing with the families that you dealt with, dealing with the children that you're dealing with. Approximately, what budgets are we looking at?
For one child or for a lot of them? Because
let's take a child.
Let's take a child. I would say
all the way to until they're 18.
That is upwards of 3 million.
Yeah.
3 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because you have to. We're not just dealing with one child, right?
Yes.
You find one child, you have to go to their family. Now, in this family, you find there are 7 children. Not probably they're not in school, all of them, right? So you don't work with this one child. You work with their family. And for you to work with this family, you also have to empower the community around them. You have to talk to the Nyumba Kumi. You have to talk to the chiefs. You have to let the sub-county children's office know that you're working there. So
we're talking about if you're dealing with 10 children, we're talking about 30 million plus. And here we're talking about the numbers in Nairobi, because I remember there's a time we were having a discussion with Professor Kagwanja, and he said whenever he was driving on his way home, he used to see a single person on the street, like a street family, an individual there. But over time, the numbers increased to around 6, and that is in a span of around, I think, 1 year. So the numbers continue to increase. That means that resources continue to diminish based off the numbers that you do have. And with that, then government plugging in is critical, especially with you CSOs who are with these families on a daily basis. So again, you and the government to address this, because one would say the government is not able to handle everything, but you understand the situation, but you can reach government, right?
Yeah.
Where are we with that?
I think we're not so bad.
You can say the truth. It's safe space.
Truly, I mean it. We're not so bad. For example, like the public participations. There have been 2. We've had different engagements with the government, and even in the Child Welfare Fund, I believe there is a spot for CSOs, especially in terms of funding, what the CSOs can do for specific children at a specific time. It's not perfect. There's still so much to be done, but the fact that these ideas are already starting to be accepted, across the board is great. Yeah. So through these public participations and through just individual MOUs we have with the different parts of the government, I'd even mentioned that the ODPP is on board with this as well, and these are different government agencies. So I wouldn't say it's so bad, but I would say there's still a lot of work that needs to be done.
And probably when you look at the national numbers, the statistics, what levels could we be talking about? And even if you are to break them down in terms of regions, say former 8 provinces, where do we have as many children on the streets? And what basically does that mean in terms of informing government budgets? Because that is very key. If you were to look at something I saw happening in Nairobi sometime back, actually in 2022, when some politicians actually decided to register street children as voters. So they were walking around and asking them, Kokona Kadi. Right now we are talking to Kokadi. But there's a reason why the politician would be interested to get the numbers. So once we have the data, the statistics, we could even have local street children networks. To a level where I remember in many years ago, I used to work with what is called Nairobi Slum Dwellers Association. We even had an assembly of young people in the slums. And out of that arrangement, 3 of them were elected MCS. You know, so what amount of effort that would have in terms of informing government policy, but even moving it further to now read into the budget process, so that you say yes, as street children, we also want to have a budget of our own. But I'm just wondering about the kind of numbers that we could be talking about nationally, and then of course even regionally.
Yes. So we did. A census was done last year, which we were part of. I know the numbers are upwards of 18,000. But I would say Nairobi and Mombasa and Kisumu have the highest numbers.
The cities.
Yeah, the cities have the highest numbers because, again, people come from everywhere. They land in Nairobi because, people come to Nairobi to look for work, to look for money, to look for opportunity. So Nairobi has the highest concentration of street families. Yes.
I want to look at, we might talk about funds. We might talk about the families being brought into these conversations, community taking role. But we cannot afford not to have this conversation without the presence of psychosocial support. Why do I think that is important? Because if you want to reintegrate this child back to the society, psychosocial support is key, and not just for the child, for the parent as well, for where this child is going back to. And we also have to take we have to bite the bullet and say at some point after psychosocial support, this kid perhaps is safer in a children's home. Perhaps this child is safer in a foster home, because where we're taking them, the parent needs to understand that we've tried, but to machine, and you need to accept that as a parent, that this child is safer elsewhere. In terms of psychosocial support, it is not easy with budgets that you're talking about 3 million for a child. When you talk about psychosocial support, that's a different budget phase that you're talking about altogether. But it is integral, psychosocial support. Do we have enough even experts to help with these 18,000 that you're talking about? And if there are gaps, are we looking at curriculum change and integrating these as part and parcel of the society?
I would say as CSOs, they're integral to our process, because I'll give an example of us, of what we do. We do have counselors on board. So in every part of the case management process, the counselor together with the social worker, together with the family, is there. So there's psychosocial support from the beginning to the end of the process. Yes.
And so you can make an addition,
yes, I can do so. Yes, it's true. We do have counselors as well, but then I'd like to bring in the angle of the courtroom for the justice system, for example, because many of the street children, they end up in the justice system. So the justice system is trying to become more child friendly, and we've had this conversation many times before. They're looking for trauma-informed justice. The Judiciary Strategic Plan till 2032 talks about child friendly justice, and once a child goes through the judicial system, there is diversion. There's diversion that can be done. Instead of the child being in the judicial system, that only traumatizes them more. The ODPP has been instrumental in ensuring that these cases are diverted, and part of diversion could be psychosocial support. So this is how the court gives these children the psychosocial support that they need. Also, when this child perhaps has gone through the diversion process or even the court process, some are not good for diversion because the community. Diversion means you go back to the community, and some communities don't want them back. So when they do the whole court process, they're taken to specialized facilities that help them to by giving those services. There are counselors, and they're taught vocational skills even there. And more importantly, you mentioned something about them being safe for the community. So in this approved institutions, these children are not only given the psychosocial support that is needed, they're also taught about responsibility and accountability for what they've done.
Unfortunately, time is not on our side, right?
Can they tell us where is the ceremony tomorrow, what time?
And where we can find you in a minute.
All right, so the ceremony tomorrow will be held at the YMCA Shauri Moyo from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. So that is where we will be.
That's the YMCA hall?
Yes, the YMCA
Great. Damaris?
Yes, we really would love if you could make it.
Yes.
It's such an important conversation.
All right.
Thank you.
So Linda Ntinyari is a social worker, safeguarding lead Remaid, and Damaris Lubanga, program officer, access to justice. I have to give you guys your flowers for an amazing job that you're doing. We say celebrate people when they are still here. So keep on keeping on, and we're here to support you.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.